Hi, guys. This is Rachel and my good friend Maz, who lives in Iran. I thought it would be interesting to ask him a lot of good stuff about Iran and hear his thoughts on the whole subject. So say hello, Maz.
Hey, how are you guys? Glad to be here.
Glad to have you here. I'm sure they're all fine. They don't live in Iran, so things are not as bad for them.
Yeah,
So we're
exactly.
going to be careful. I'm not going to ask Maz to answer anything too controversial because there's not exactly so much free speech and we don't want to get him in trouble. So to the best of our ability, we're going to delve into this whole thing. And I guess the first question that everyone is going to be curious about is how Iranians are feeling about Joe Biden winning the presidential election.
Okay, that's a good question. To be honest, nobody care about the president at first, U.S. president, I mean. But when we saw Trump and he torturing our government, and we love every second of the, yeah, because we love to see they tortured or they gonna suffer economically, especially something like that. But when we heard about the yeah Joe Biden is the next president or something like that, at first we are even right now we are very worried. Why? Because Joe Biden gonna cooperation with this government for the next Iran deal or something like that. And pretty much I can say most people of the Iran hate Joe Biden with their guts.
Hate
Hate, yeah, they don't like
hate him because they feel that he doesn't care about the human rights
exactly. He
atrocities
doesn't care.
and
He doesn't care anything about the people of the Iran. He doesn't care about the. He just, for example, he talking, yeah, the murder or the killing people in the um, jail or something like that. It's bad. It's torture is bad or something. But deep down, if you know that, why do you want to make another deal? Why do you want to do that?
hmm,
Yeah. In
and
yeah.
clearly
There are so many sanctions. There are so many sanctions
yeah.
in the
On the topic of those sanctions, the common narrative in America by those who support a return to the Iran deal, they say that those sanctions are not hurting the regime, but they're hurting the everyday people. What do you have to say to that?
in some it's for the short answer. It's not true. Yes and no. Yes and no. If I want to say that, yes and no. Why? Yes, yes. Because if my government be torture, I'm gonna be tortured too. Because he gonna make me to pay them. Yeah, he gonna make me to pay more for the food, for everything, or something like that. But no, because I have to pay more. Something should be at some point there must be a I don't know how can I say that. At some point there must be something to. I'm gonna be tortured anyway. You know how can I? This is the best way to say that. I'm gonna be tortured.
At some point, you feel that you have nothing left to
Yeah,
lose.
we don't have Latin right now. We don't have Latin left to lose. So more sanction make this government more more. I don't know. Uh,
Now you
it's
have
like
to
a
explain to Americans.
solidarity.
In
Yeah,
America, we
exactly.
have we have unemployment assistance, we have something that we call welfare for people that are struggling to afford rent and food and childcare and things like that. It's not a perfect system, but we do have something in place to help people who are struggling
And
financially. But Iran has no such programs, do they?
yeah, exactly, true. But guess what?
So, because I think Americans assume that if the Iranian government had more money, the people would be living better lives because the regime would spend some of that money helping the people. What do you have to say to that idea?
Let me say that with this one, the Iran has much more money. How can I say that? In how can I prove that? In last 3 years, there were about $1 billion equipment, tank, bullet, missile or something got destroyed by Israel or US. Is not matter. $1 billion in 3 years by the foreign military like Israel or US. We could use that money. We still have so much money, but they not gonna spend it for the people. For example, and you can say in any area, in the economy, in the medical or something like that, they won't buy us any vaccine. The vaccine is not sanctioned. Why they not gonna use it? Why they not go? They want to be. They using this Corona, COVID, or anything like that for uh, stop people from the protesting because if you protest, there is a big chance you get the COVID from someone else, and they're gonna use it. Look at the Turkey. Look at
They're going to use COVID to their advantage, is what you're
exactly,
saying.
exactly. Look,
And of course, medicine and
it's
vaccines
not
are supposed to be
sanctioned. It's
exempt
not sanctioned.
from sanctions.
No, it's
But
not.
in addition to that, there's no sanction in place that prevents Iran from buying basically
I'm
whatever they
telling you,
want
with
from
this,
China.
I'm telling you, with some Trump, I think in the Trump minister, yeah, I think in the Trump 4 years of Trump, it was about 70, yeah, something like that, 80 or something sanction against Iran government. And I'm telling you, there were so much money you can even imagine, like in the military. In the middle of there is a video. If I found it, I'm gonna send it to you. There is a video in the middle of the Iraq uh, election. There was something like that. There was a bag full of money. There was a bag full of money to spend in the Iraq. Send it to the people. Yeah, please, uh, Iraqi people, please vote for our Shia or something like that candidate. At that moment, we have a crisis with our currency here, but they didn't care. So
And even then, during that crisis with your economy, the inflation, they still had plenty of money to bribe voters in Iraq to choose
so
either
much, and
candidate.
even every time Israel just explode something in the Syria or even Iraq, they gonna resupply the army or the military guns or tank or everything shortly after that. They have money. This is so naive.
So this idea then that some Americans who don't know any better have is that if we relieve some of this sanction pressure and we lift some of those sanctions, suddenly Iranians are going to have more food and they're going to have more
No,
medicine.
no,
You're laughing because that's how false it is, but
no.
that is what a
This
lot
is
of
this is
Americans think.
I,
And so we're here to try to get through some of these misconceptions and tell people how
I'm
things
s-
really
I,
are. None of these sanctions kept Iran from buying whatever they wanted from China, to include masks and potentially vaccines and medical supplies in general. And yet, when you were at the height of your COVID crisis, when the mass graves of the COVID victims could literally be seen from space,
exactly.
was your government buying medical supplies and helping people?
Nope.
No.
And
And how did you describe the hospitals to me? You said they were
it
dirty.
was. I'm telling you. About last month or something, 10 people just died because they didn't have any oxygen. The oxygen. And yeah,
Wow, really? So they're not even buying the very
it,
basics
it's
like
it's a
oxygen
basic.
tank.
If you have a lung issue or something like that, if in your lung or something like that, the COVID it hits. Sometimes it hits the lung, and your oxygen
Mm.
is low, so they have to do something about it. But right now in south of Iran, they were the place I born and raised about 20 years ago, or something, 10 years ago. I live there, and right now there is an awful situation there because of the COVID, and they don't care. I'm telling you,
They don't.
I'm sorry to say that, but this is so naive. If somebody say to me, "Yeah, it's U.S. fault because of the sanction," no, it's not U.S. fault.
No, it's okay because our media likes to spin things a certain way sometimes. And there's a
And
bias
of course,
that is pro
because,
Iran from some of our media and from some of our elected officials. As you know, the Democratic Party is seen as being kind of too soft on Iran. And so they don't want to show us the really ugly realities, which is why when 1,500 mostly teenage protesters were shot to death in their own streets in 2018, that didn't make headlines. That wasn't on every channel on TV the way that a mass shooting would be here. Or if Vladimir Putin had done that to Russian people, it would have been all over the media all the time because we're against Russia. But when something like that happens in Iran, we get mostly silence because it's not politically convenient to kind of illustrate the dark side of Iran and their government and what is happening over there.
let,
And so it's all about the narrative.
okay, let me try to let me say an example to about my government. Because of the sanction, there are so many money blocked, uh, and my government can't access to those money. For example, 7 billion, yeah, $7 or $8 billion in South Korea. Okay, bank, it's blocked. Okay, so because it's blocked in the South Korea banks, and we have to pay to keep it. It's like a credit card every month. Something very tiny, like a $1 or $2, it's gonna cost because it's international or something like that. Same thing happened for that money. I don't know how much, but it's massive. For example, let's say something like 100K, something like that. Every month we have to pay to keep that money, in their banks. The South Korea government telling us so many times, we cannot pay you, we cannot send any money to your country, but you can buy food, you can buy medicine, you can buy mask, you can buy anything with not the money, anything include like a food or medicine. But this government is still rejected. So how they respond? My government in the Persian Gulf, there was South Korea ship or something. They gonna capture it by force. Okay, and they gonna send it to the south of Iran. And right now it's on the uh, yeah. Right now the ship is they using as a hostage to release those $7 billion. This is exactly my government do. They they they're not gonna spend any money for food. They're not gonna spend any money for medicine or healthcare or something. They don't care about Iran. The people of the Iran. They don't care about anything. And we have so much money, but we're not gonna spend any of them.
Are they fixing your roads and your bridges and your schools?
Nothing. I'm telling you.
Nothing.
Last year there
So
was a
let's
school.
say that a lady,
Last year in one of the school in northwest, I think northwest, yeah, northwest of Iran. Yeah, 7 kids got burned, and with the massive burn, like a category 3 or something like that, because it was so cold, and they use an old, something like a heater or something, but very old, and it got fire, and somehow it got fire, and the school got fire, and those kids was about 10, 10 between 10 or 12. They are in sadly, some of them died, some of them got heavily injured or something like that. And it was a school, it just was for 20 people or something like that. They won't spend any money for that, for the people. Right now there was an earthquake, very big one, in the Sisacht. Sisacht is the name of the a small village or something like that. A small city. Yeah. They didn't spend anything for the tent or the basic things for the people who lost their homes, their because of the earthquake and something like that. They won't do that. They won't spend anything. And with every protest, my government will be, I don't know, like a Hitler, bloodthirsty or something. Okay, you protest, huh, against me? I'm not gonna buy you anything. Uh, I'm gonna make your life even harder or something like. It's like exactly like a dictator. And this small government, I'm telling you, guys, this is not, the sanction won't do anything. It's not. It's just we, we're gonna, yes, we are in the bad position in every way you want to say, in the economic, politics, freedom of speech, everything like that. And it is what it is. The sanction won't make it better or something like that. For example, if tomorrow all the sanction got lifted or something like that, it won't be better. Trust me. Iran deal with Obama, it didn't do shit. I'm sorry to say that, but it didn't do shit. Iran deal, but it make my government stronger. So many jihadis or the proximity army or something in the Middle East got bigger and bigger and bigger because of that Iran deal. $400 million cash. I didn't get anything, not a penny. I didn't get anything like a better healthcare or better food or job or something. I didn't get anything. 400 million.
So
Yeah,
employment didn't improve during that period. There weren't more jobs.
nothing. Not they promised.
What is
I
it like?
remember. I remember. What was the secretary of the uh, Obama? What was that? The guy
Oh,
after the Hillary
under
Clinton.
Obama.
What was that? John Kerry,
Oh,
something like that. John Kerry.
was it John Kerry? Maybe you're right. I don't.
Yeah, yeah, something.
My brain is.
Yeah. Somebody asked him how this affect our economy or something. He said 6 months. I still remember that. 6 months. I think after 2 years we didn't saw anything. We didn't saw anything, and it was so awful.
Now, right now, let's just pretend COVID doesn't exist. For a young man like you in Iran,
Okay.
you have a university education. I know you do.
Yes.
You've told me this before.
Yes.
And yet, the best job you could find in the past was a factory that was probably owned by the government.
And they pay yeah, it was from the government. It was from IRGC. I won't say anything more.
Mm.
Yeah, it was.
We won't discuss what they were making there or
Yeah,
anything
yeah, yeah.
like
It was
that.
for the. Yeah, we won't discuss exactly.
But
Yeah,
that's about the height of the opportunity for you. If you go out looking for a job today, what are you going to find?
today without COVID.
Yeah, if COVID didn't exist and all the businesses were open and running, what kind of jobs would a college educated young man like you, who has skills and who has qualifications, what would you be able to go find for work right now
If I
if
want to
there was
be
no?
honest, the college or something like that is doesn't matter. The first job it's suitable for you. You have to take it. Something like English elite, English elite. That's how miserable are we right now. That how
And the wages would be very low?
yeah, you know that job in the factory. I have a master degrees, but they say we need diploma, and we have to pay you 4 months or 3 months in a row. If for every 3 months we have to pay you, and I said okay, and it was
So you didn't get a paycheck except for every 3 months you would get paid.
yeah like a 3 months, 2.5, 3 months, not monthly, not weekly, not monthly, nothing, but every 2 months, 3 months, and at the end it was like a 4 months or something. And guess what? We lost so many material or something like that. Okay, we can work. Sorry, guys, we can work. We don't have any materials. And the next day there was so many truck with so many material, and I was keep wondering, they can pay, they can buy so this much material in a day, but they can't pay us every month.
Well, I've seen so many strikes that teachers were not being paid
Exactly.
and truck drivers were not being
The
paid. And
nurse, the nurse. I mean, what the hell is going on? The nurse. They didn't pay them like 4 months or something like that. I mean, what the heck? In this COVID,
During the protest in 2018, what do you think $1 American was worth in your currency? What was the
2018,
inflation rate? Like, how bad was it? Hmm.
2018, I'm gonna say about 50,000.
So $1 was 50,000 to a month.
Yeah, exactly. But right now is 27K, 27, 28, something like that. Yes, exactly.
Wait, refresh. I already, sometimes I have a little bit of problem remembering something I just said. So in 2018, it was what?
It was about 15, 15. Yeah, 15.
15,000. And so now it's almost doubled.
Almost double. Yes.
So the inflation has almost doubled. So under normal conditions, when the economy is okay, what would you pay for a loaf of bread?
About, should I say it in dollars or?
Yeah, just to give them a better perspective because they don't know what a tomon is anymore.
Yeah, yeah, okay. About 20 cents right now. Yes, about 10 cents. Yeah, 10 cents or something like that. A barrel.
10 cents if the economy was okay.
Oh, it was okay. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Trying to find what a fair price would be versus
yeah,
what it
10
would cost
cents,
now.
10 cents.
And so now it would cost what?
50. Yeah, 50.
50 cents. So about 5 times more then,
Yeah.
yeah. And let's say you wanted
Oh,
to rent a
Coca-Cola.
small
Let me
apartment.
say Coca-Cola. Back then it was like
Okay.
back then when economy was fantastic or everything like that. It was like yeah, 40 cents. Yeah, something like. But right now it's like 1.5 dollars.
So what about bigger items like a pair of
Oh my
jeans?
God, it's awful right now. It's about triple or something like that. I can I s- I bought a couple days ago. I bought a T-shirt or something about triple as used to be triple or something. I bought that like back then it was of course because of different of currency. It sounds really cheap, but it's not. Back then I was buying like $2 or something like that, but right now it's like $7 or something. Yeah, it's awful.
But $7 in your money
Yes,
sounds a lot
yeah, yeah,
bigger than it
exactly.
would be.
Yeah, again, it's sound cheap to you guys, but it's for us, it's awful right now.
In a good economy in Iran, how much would you get paid per hour working at the factory if the economy was
Monthly,
good?
monthly, I'm gonna get about $80 monthly. 70
And what do you think it pays now?
right now. I'm talking about right now.
Yeah.
I'm talking about right now.
Oh, you're talking. No, I want to compare like the costs and the prices when the economy's good, and then tell what it
Uh,
is now. So if the economy was good and everything was great, what would you get paid working in a
100 when
factory?
economy was good, I would get like a $150, but right now it's like a 70, sorry, 60.
So right about half.
Yeah,
Your wages would have dropped by half, while the cost of everything is doubling and
depend on
tripling and
your
quadrupling.
work, but yeah, between 50 and 70.
Wow. And lifting the sanctions definitely won't give any
I'm
relief
telling
there
you,
because those companies aren't going to get any money from the
I'm
government.
telling you, no, nothing, none, zero, nada. If
And what
I
happens if
was
you can't
working.
pay the
I
rent?
was working in the Obama Iran deal. I was working back then when the Obama had the Iran deal. But I got paid like 3 months. For every 3 months, I got paid, and that was the Iran deal. Right now, I cannot imagine that factory. I, who knows? Maybe it's like a 6 months for every six.
So right now, if you were broke and you were maybe sleeping on your friend's couch and you didn't even have your own place to live, but tomorrow somebody hires you and gives you a job, you're still not going to get paid for probably 3 or 4 months.
I'm telling you, if you want a PS5, for example, let's say a PS5 or something, you have to work uh, like 12 months, no food, no bills, nothing. Don't buy anything. Work like a 12 months, and you're gonna get your PS5. Like a $500
Wow.
is like a 500 or Xbox or anything you want.
And plenty of people in Iran do love video games, so they would probably really want
For
to get a
example,
PlayStation or something.
something is made in our country. For example, some foods or something, but cell phone or the fridge or TV or I don't know, computer or anything like that is not made in our country. So we have to pay dollars like yours, yeah, like you guys. Okay, how can I do that? How can I? Okay, for example, my cell phone is broken right now. How can I do that? I cannot pay for any cell phone right now. I cannot do anything. It's broken. I have to throw it in the trash because I cannot pay like $200 on a cell phone. I cannot pay something like for my PC or something like that. It's so expensive.
No.
I have to.
So that doesn't give you very much to do when you're stuck at home and you're not able
I'm
to find
telling you,
work.
if you're stuck in your friend's couch, kill yourself. You cannot do anything. Kill yourself right now.
I'm sure the suicide risk is getting higher and higher in Iran because so
I'm
many
not
young
gonna
people they
I'm
have
not
no
gonna make it so sad or something, but 8 years old right now, kids like 8 years old killing themselves.
8-year-olds are killing themselves.
Eight. I'm not gonna make it so sad. South of Iran, there was a guy, 13 years old, 12. He just killed himself. 12 years. I mean, what the hell? You don't know anything about.
Do you think that COVID has even made that much of a difference? Because even before the
I
virus, you guys were kind of stuck in your homes anyway because you had nowhere to go, you
exactly
had nothing to do.
exactly exactly. COVID is
So I don't understand actually why you've had so many deaths and so much spread because so many of you weren't really
just
going out
just
anyway.
if you can just Google it in the suicide in Iran, and there are so many articles about the young people, and my government keep it private and
No, of
make it
course.
threat. Yeah, you shouldn't say any.
Of course.
You shouldn't say anything about your child who died, who killed himself.
People here will say something on Twitter like America has more COVID deaths than China and Iran, as if China or Iran are going to be transparent or honest with the outside world about those things. That's one of the sillier things that people seem to actually believe. Some people, probably not most people. But what I'm getting at is that even before COVID, as difficult as we think this year has been because we haven't been able to go out and see our friends or go to movies or whatever, you were living that way basically under a lockdown for like the last 2 or 3 years because they may as well lock you in your house if you're not even allowed to go to a movie theater anyway because that's banned. You know, you don't have money to go out and do fun things with your friends. You can't even buy video
Exactly.
games. U.S. sanctions do affect video games and access to Google and YouTube and things
Exactly.
like that. They have to
No, not
use
YouTube. YouTube
VPNs.
is
Also cost
yeah.
money.
YouTube is blocked
Um,
because of my country. YouTube is okay. YouTube is okay. Yeah, Facebook.
but a lot of things are blocked. They're not able to just go on Steam and buy a video
Yeah,
game, for
for
instance.
the
A lot of things that they can't
yeah, for the
do.
video game.
So now you have no money to go out with your friends to do things. Nobody has work. And you also can't afford to really entertain yourself at home very well either.
It's
And you've been living that way for what, 2, 3, 4, 5 years now, probably. It's been that bad.
about 10 years or so. I
10
yeah,
years.
about 10 years.
So I'm just really trying to show the contrast for our American listeners here. We think that this year this year has been hard. I'm not trying to
No, no, no.
minimize
This year was hard, but we
the
always been there.
difficulties, the depression, the losses, the deaths, everything about this year has been absolutely horrible for Americans too. But times that by 10, and you get to start having the merest little glimpse into life in Iran for a young person like
Yeah,
Moz.
exactly.
Just to put that into perspective about how much worse it
Yeah,
is. And this idiotic, quite frankly, notion that If their government just had money, they would help the people. Their government does not care
they
about them the way that our government pretends to care about us. It was like pulling teeth to get a little stimulus money from ours, but imagine if there was no such thing as stimulus money at
they
all.
have money. They have money. Trust me, they have right now.
You
Even
know, a young woman in Iran can have 2 or 3 children. Her husband dies. There's no life insurance. She looks to the government, and they're just going to say, "Feel free to go die under a bridge. There's no food for you. There's no shelter for you. There's
exactly,
nothing for you."
and
So she's got to just pray to God that she has family that she can stay with or something, because there's going to be no help. That government is not coming to save you.
and frankly, they have money, but they won't spend it for us. People they
Exactly.
have even in
Exactly,
this.
which is one reason that lifting sanctions doesn't help. But the bigger overlying reason is that they wouldn't anyway. You could give them trillions of dollars, and they wouldn't give one penny of that to fix a road or improve a hospital or buy medicine for people. They wouldn't do anything good for the people with any amount of
For
money.
example, let me say,
Every man for himself over
for
there.
another way to say that, we have about $7 billion. No, not seven. I think $100 billion, something like that. I don't know the number, but the number is big. And blocked money in the U.S. They can buy, and even Pompeo said that they can buy medicine. And how many
Hmm.
vaccine do you have? Three, four, something like that. They can buy it, Pfizer or the Moderna or something like that, and
Pfizer,
Johnson.
Moderna. There's Johnson and
Yeah,
Johnson
they
now.
can
Yeah.
buy it.
And then Russia came out with Sputnik, and Russia does
And
business
and
with
guess
Iran, so
what?
they could buy the
And
Sputnik.
guess what? Our supreme leader, Iran's supreme leader, not mine supreme leader. He said in the TV, the UK and pretty much the West, anything from the West, vaccine or something, is forbidden. It's forbidden.
Right. But he's still not buying vaccines from China or from Russia, though, is
Exactly.
he?
Exactly. And guess what? 1 week after that, after he said it's forbidden or something like that, I'm gonna decide it for you. Okay, you shouldn't use any West vaccine. Anything from the West is UK or anything like that, or US.
Can we talk about the supposed cure that the mullahs were recommending?
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
You have to use oil or something in your butt. And
Yes, yes. Lavender oil rubbed on your anus was supposed to prevent or even cure COVID, according to the mullahs.
I don't know how to call it. We have something like a haram or something, like for the imam for something. For example, one of the Shia imam or something, have prophet, it's something like that, like a prophet. And there will be, there is some place who said they buried here and they gonna pray or something like that. And people said, don't go to this place for the pray or something. It's like a mosque, but it's way more bigger.
It was a shrine, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
it?
Exactly. I just searching for the good word. Yeah, shrine. And the people said, don't go there. It's the COVID. If you touch anyone, if you be near anyone with the COVID, you're gonna get that. And some people said, no, it's cured COVID. I mean, how? How it's gonna cure? I'm gonna beg.
And God will cure me if I go to the shrine. And they were
Oh
licking
my God, they lick
areas of
you.
the shrine, licking it.
Okay, see that Imam Reza wants to do want heal me or something like that. I'm just licking this metal or something, and I'm gonna be cured. I mean,
Yeah, it was some holy object or something, but it's not so holy if 500 guys just licked it before you in the middle of a
you just need a
pandemic.
Pfizer or a vaccine. You're gonna be holy moly, something like that. Don't worry about it. But
Yeah.
with
Well,
something,
it's just striking, isn't it, though, because Iran is a country filled with very educated people, engineers, scientists, doctors, you name it. And yet, on the flip side of Iran is you have mullahs saying, yeah, just lick that metal thing and put some lavender oil on your
yeah,
butthole.
exactly. You're gonna be cured.
What a dichotomy, because It's always tempting for people who don't know anything about the Middle East or don't know anything about Iran to picture you like a giant desert sandbox
Mm,
full of people that look like mullahs and are very stupid, but that is not the reality of
no, no.
Iran. That's the reality maybe in some tiny rural villages where people are not very educated. But in a city like Tehran or any of the big cities, you have all these universities. Every Persian mother makes sure that her kids get educated when they have access to that. These are intelligent, creative, innovative people. These are not idiots with a low IQ or something that they really, that the vast majority of them would agree with. Yeah, I could go to the mullah and lick that thing and I'll be cured. No, no. At least 95% of Iranians know that that's nonsense. But you do have this fringe, it's ultra religious. They're just very brainwashed to a point that they are very afraid to even question a mullah. If he told you, go jump off that rooftop, God will save you, they would do it
Okay,
because
let me.
that's what extremism
Okay, for
does.
example, this is Islam, right? The Prophet is Muhammad. I saw so many clips or something like. I saw it so many clips that people say if Supreme Leader say insult Prophet Muhammad, I'm gonna do it right now. So they don't have any religion. They just brainwash, as you say. It's just brainwash. I'm gonna kill every.
Now, what are the laws? Pakistan is notorious for their awful blasphemy laws where you can even be executed for blasphemy. If you, in front of a police officer or something in Iran, insulted the prophet or the mullahs or something like that, would you get arrested?
Yes, they're gonna kill me. Maybe I'm gonna
They would
be
like kill
arrested.
you in
I'm gonna
jail.
be arrested for sure.
Would you even get a trial, or would they just kill you?
It's just a fake trial, but yeah, after a couple of months, they're gonna kill me for sure.
They're going to kill you just for something you said,
Yes, anything against the.
even if you apologize, and even if you take it back.
Yeah, maybe at some point they're gonna have. Maybe they gonna tape it or something of the video. Yeah, say someone from the Israel or US send it to you or something like that. Some friends from the US say something like that. We're gonna tape it and then we're gonna release you. There are so many cases like this. Yeah, and they're gonna torture it. There was some guy who has a little mental issue, but they're gonna send it to the like asylum or something. They torture him. They torture him so bad. He couldn't even talk recently, and he died at the asylum. Yeah,
Ugh.
they will torture you. They will.
And to think, I'm not saying that Putin is an innocent man or that he's a wonderful leader, but, you know, based on a couple of incidents, poisonings, things
Yeah,
that were wrong. But they will make him out to be the biggest murderer since Hitler, while they say not one word about these things that Iran does to its own people.
yeah.
Not one
Iran
word.
is way more worse than this. Way more than.
Way worse than
Yeah,
Russia. People in Russia overall have decent rights. If they're protesting, Putin is not going to shoot 1,500 Russians in the street to death. He doesn't do that.
and guess what?
If a woman,
In that protest, there was some people. There were some people down the river with the rock attached to their head, and
drowned in the river weighed down with
yeah,
rocks just for
exactly.
protest,
No,
you won't see that happen in Russia.
no trial, nothing. No,
A woman in Iran, if she wants to take the hijab off of her head, how many years will they sentence her into prison if she takes it off as a
10,
protest? That's going to be 10,
10,
30 years in prison or
10,
something.
15, something like that.
Now, we know that alcohol is illegal because of the Islamic rule. Okay, we understand.
Yeah, sadly.
But it doesn't seem like such a serious offense that you should get tortured for it. But just tell the listeners what would happen if you got caught standing on your sidewalk drinking a beer. What would happen to you?
If I do that, they're gonna like a uh, like a torture or something. They're gonna, I don't know how to call it.
Will you get arrested?
Yes,
Will
yes.
you go to jail?
Arrest, jail, yeah, for sure. But additionally,
And then like
not
sentence you beating.
not jail, but they gonna do something. I don't know the. Let me whip, like a whip, you know.
A whip. Yeah, like a
Yeah, yeah,
flogging,
yeah.
right? You'll get sentenced
For,
to a flogging. I have seen videos and photos of young men who were caught drinking, and that's what
yeah,
happened.
about 15 times. There is no jail, but it's worse. And they gonna,
It's
yeah,
worse
it's worse.
because they beat you
Yeah,
terribly.
yeah, whip.
And in public, in front of everybody.
Not
Yeah.
recently, but back then, yes, but not recently. It's, for example, there was a graduation. For some students that just graduate. How can I say that? Graduation. Shit. Yeah,
Graduation, yeah.
exactly. From the university, and there was some
Mhm.
alcoholic, and there was some alcohol, beer or something at that party, and one of the chief police or something, he said we just captured them, whip them at the same day, whip them, and they gonna we just release them, all of them, about 26 or something, in one day. You're gonna capture them, you're gonna whip them, lash or something, and then you're gonna release them. And he said, "Be proud of this in the one day."
Yeah, of course. Of course.
I mean,
And
for
they have
for
what we
what? A
call,
little beer or something? Because with that,
we have, well, in France especially, they used to have an object called a guillotine. You know what that is?
yes,
That machine that cuts off your head. In Iran, they have smaller ones just for cutting off your
exactly.
hand if you're caught stealing.
Yeah, last
I don't know how often they do that, but I have certainly seen videos and photos of people getting their hands chopped off.
last year there was a guy because stealing about $5. Yeah, $5, dollars. They cut his hand for $5 or $10 dollars.
$5 or $10. So imagine that, guys. Your government cuts off your
You cannot.
hand, but also doesn't have any welfare or unemployment benefits or anything like that. So if you can no longer do whatever work you used to do because now you've got no hand,
The
then essentially your government is just sentencing you to go and be starved to
Yeah,
death.
exactly. One time they say, yeah, you cough so much, and they say if you cough more, we're gonna lay off you because you cough so much. And imagine, you,
So you'll be fired for getting sick, is what you're saying?
yes, because if you have a malaria or I don't know, something, if you have diabetes or something like that, it's puts you in the danger to be laid off. And imagine you can see, or you don't have one hand, or or you have a disability. You
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, if you can't walk or you lose your eyesight. Yeah, because again, they don't have public health insurance. They don't have any sort of a social safety net in place
That
whatsoever.
guy, when they cut his hand, they kill him. Pretty much they kill him.
Pretty
Pretty
much,
much, yeah.
yeah. You know, our health system in America is far from perfect. And insulin, especially the medication, of course, that diabetics have to have, is expensive here, and we really need to find a solution to that. But imagine if every cent of your health care was up to you with zero insurance, nothing paid, no portion of it covered. And so now your boss is threatening to fire you because you have diabetes.
And I remember,
Every cent of everything from your housing to your food to your medicine is 100% thrown in your own lap
I
only.
remember,
So if you're not blessed to have family to help you or somebody who can give you a loan or something, you are really, really
yeah, you're in the trouble.
down the road of
You
that
can
paddle.
even
Oh,
you
you
can
are
even
in
die.
trouble.
Trust me, you can even die because if you die, your family has to pay for the grave, for the so many things, and it's
Oh,
it's ex-
tell them what the family has to pay for when the government executes their son.
yeah, when not even execution. If you die in the protest, they have you have to pay like $2,000 for the body. It's a ransom.
For the body.
More than $2,000 actually. It's like a 10. Yes, it's
And if you don't pay that money or you can't pay that money, they will never give you the
And
body.
they say we're gonna bury it in the unknown place. You cannot even find your son's grave or daughter grave. You have to pay. And guess what? There was a 13 years old girl who died, and they say, yeah, she's young. You don't have to pay.
Oh, how generous of
Yeah,
them.
thank you. You so
To shoot a 13-year-old
yeah.
girl.
There was a 10 years, 12 years. Yeah, 12 years old. He wasn't even protesting. He was just back from the school, and by mistake they killed him. It was so awful. I think around 12.
What is the people's reaction when things like this happen?
We are angry, to be honest, but we can do much, to be honest. But yeah, we are so. It's so disgusting. There's an election about 3 months, and boy, nobody would do. Nobody even votes or something, because if you vote to this government. You accept this government. It's not matter if you vote to any. First of all, is the rigged from the beginning. Yeah,
It's
it's
rigged.
rigged.
Yep, the
The
elections are
election
not
is
fair.
rigged. They gonna elect anything, anyone they want. It's not matter.
Now,
If someone says, "Yeah, I'm gonna release all the political prisoner or something like that,"
information.
it's lie because they don't
Yeah.
do that. Or this.
So another lie that we're fed a lot in America, even by foreign analysts, journalists, people who are supposed to be experts about Iran, they try to tell us that there's moderates in Iran who are so much kinder and
There are
gentler,
what?
and they're not the hardliners. That there are moderates. There's like Rouhani. He's moderate. He's more fair. He cares about the people more. And then there's the hardliners. So they would have us believe that there's a gentle side and a harsh side. What's the real truth?
No, there is no gentle. There is no something like that. It's always harsh, and they all puppies. They not puppies. I mean, like a puppet.
Puppets.
Exactly. They all puppets. They can't do anything. Even our. It's not matter if you vote to the best candidate ever. If it,
Who holds the power in Iran? Who
supreme,
holds the power?
supreme,
Is it the
yeah,
president?
Khamenei, supreme,
Only
only,
Khamenei.
only him.
So Rouhani, he has a fancy title. He's president, but he has how much power, do you think?
Zero, nothing,
Zero.
zero.
So if Rouhani were to try to go against Khamenei, like maybe he says something that he knows Khamenei disagrees,
Okay, he can't do anything.
what's
There was, for example, let me say that I think you know the Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, right?
who? Say it again.
Ahmadinejad, you know him.
Yes,
Yeah, of
yes,
course you know
yes,
him.
yes.
The Ahmadinejad. So every president, he can choose his secretary. He can choose the prime, not prime minister. What you call it? For example, the head of the defensive or something like that. People like that.
Like the foreign
Yeah, yeah.
minister, like
Exactly, like a foreign minister or something like that. And we call it cabinet or something. I don't know what you call it in the US, but he can choose anything.
we call we call the foreign minister.
Yeah, and there are some people who he can choose, like a prime minister, okay, foreign or something like that. There's
Like his
yeah,
cabinet, his
exactly, like a
admin, he can
cabinet. He can choose everyone he wants. Okay, for same here, same goes here too. So the president can do that. One of them, Ahmadinejad, about 8 years ago, 10 years ago, something like that, he decided to let it go. Okay, you fired. I don't like you. Something like that. But guess what? Because that guy, he was exactly the person Khamenei loves. Khamenei just sent a memo or something like that. Bring him back. That's it.
So nobody can have a different opinion or try to push for
I'm
a
telling you,
different policy. And
every person in the cabinet of the president, they Khamenei choose him. Khamenei choose them.
Now, what would happen if Rouhani got brave one day and really tried to go against Khamenei? What would happen to him?
First of all, it's not possible. But second, if he wants to really do that, it's not working. They're gonna
Like, like if he grabbed a microphone and made a fiery speech and said Khamenei is terrible, we don't
do
like
it
him
tomorrow,
anymore, what would happen to him?
or in a minute, or after a minute.
Dead in a minute.
Yeah.
So there's so much disagreement in America about how liked or hated Khamenei is by the general public. If you were going to give percentages, what percent of Iran's voters do you think approve of Khamenei?
Um, 20%, even less, like a 10%, between 10 and 20.
And would those be mostly younger people or mostly older people?
Combined, but it's mostly older. Combined, but it's mostly they have some young people, but right now it's not. Young people are hate. I'm telling you, these days.
The other day I see this pro-Iran probably shill of an analyst. He said, "People, you're so stupid. Didn't you see those massive funeral processions for Hassan Soleimani? Clearly, Iranians love the regime and they love Soleimani."
No, that was
But
rigged.
those
That
people,
was that funeral was rigged. Even one of my old coworker, they paid him. Yeah,
they paid him or did they force them?
no, they say we're gonna pay you about. Imagine you're gonna get 80 bucks for the month, and they gonna pay you like a 30, $40, like half your paycheck.
And that's a lot of
Yeah,
money
yeah,
for
yeah,
them. That's a lot of
yeah.
money.
That's a lot of money. You have to do it.
That's enough money to buy food for their family for the whole month, maybe pay their rent.
Yeah, and so there is a tradition here. The first day you're gonna bury the guy, and you're gonna yeah. There's a funeral or something for the first day, and 14 days after that
Mhm.
there will be another ceremony or something. This is a very traditional. We always do that for our young people who cares about who died. The first is the funeral, and the 14 days after that there will be a ceremony, another ceremony. 40 days is past. Yeah, we are grieving or something like that.
That's the tradition under
Yeah, yeah,
Islam,
yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. And guess what? They didn't define the first day before they buried him. It was like a first in south of Iran, then it was in the Tehran, then it was in the Mashhad, and then it was in the
So you're saying that they held four
yeah,
different really
yeah, yeah,
large
day by
funeral
day, not in the same time, not in the same time, day by day. Why day by day? Because they want to transfer people between the town to make it big. But it's not big. It's just for example, it's just a 10,000 people. You bribe, you something like that. But guess what? After 14 days, the next ceremony should be good too, right? Because if after 14 days those people still love Soleimani, right? So they're gonna participate in another ceremony. And guess what? It was like a 1K people, 1,000 or 500, something like that. Every city. What happened to those 20K people? What happens to the 100K or something like that? What happened to them? I'm gonna ask.
mm,
If they love Soleimani, I saw CNN. They keep saying, "Oh my God, people are hating U.S. because of the Soleimani or something like that." What happened to them after the 40 days? What happened to them for the next ceremony? They don't love him. Don't be naive. Nobody like that person.
that's the kind of thing that the news finds convenient to just
I'm
ignore.
telling you, Soleimani was the. I shouldn't say that, but I'm gonna say it. Soleimani was a piece of shit person, and I so glad that he died. He killed so many children, women died because of him, and thank God Trump killed him. And guess what? After Trump killed him, there was so many love for the Trump. There was so many love here. People buy cake. People bought sweet or something like that because of the Trump.
In Islam, you celebrate certain events with
Yeah,
sweets.
exactly.
Any good news, any good thing
Yeah,
happens,
exactly.
you're in because you're not allowed to go dancing and singing in the streets. So what you do instead is you buy some sweets and pastries and you hand them
Exactly.
out to everybody.
It was so it was
Yeah,
it was so good. After months and months and months, I we saw some of them die. One of them, two of them actually died, and it was so good. And Trump made it.
I might have to edit that part out later because I don't want you to say things that
It's okay. You can say it. It's okay. Don't worry.
right. Just want to be
Yeah,
careful.
don't worry.
Have to be
We didn't
responsible.
say it.
So yeah, but these are just some examples of some of the wild misconceptions, and it's not Americans' fault because all we have to go on is what the media wants to tell us about it. Most of us don't have the opportunity to actually talk to people from Iran and to find out what's really true or how they really feel. And so that's why I thought this would be really interesting.
The
Let's hear
things
directly
the
from
thing I understand now after the election Biden, the thing is everything is political when you want to hurt
them.
a person or something like that. And for example, we want to elect Biden, so we're gonna use everything in our power or something like that to make it that happen. Okay, this, that, Soleimani. Oh my God, Trump just made a World War III because Clinton Soleimani. No, Soleimani was a bad person. He even trespassing the U.S. embassy or something like that in the Iraq. That's against the law. Someone should do something, and that was
Yeah.
the right move. To be honest, that was a fantastic move. To be honest,
But that's what they said. They said that was a horrible thing
no,
to do. That was
it
a
was
war crime. You're going to start World War III. And now, if Biden were to announce tomorrow, "Hey guys, we're going to war with Iran," they would defend it because everything is partisan.
uh,
Everything is very political here,
Sandra. Yes,
and they keep us so distracted fighting about whose team is better or worse that we stop caring about the actual issues. Like, is it good or bad to bomb Syria? Is it good or bad to put children in cages in the immigration facilities? As soon as somebody's candidate wins, they stop caring about those things. Magically, they're quiet about
yeah,
it. Even the movie stars that were crying on video, oh, these poor children, oh, and then now when Biden's doing it, they don't even mention it. It's like it doesn't even exist. And I think that that's so disgusting. Whichever way you vote in America, whatever your opinions are, you have to look at how quickly they flip that script and that
exactly,
that you know a second ago they were screaming that we had literal concentration camps at our border, and now today silence.
exactly.
And that has to disgust you because what's really the ugly truth here is that nobody cared in the first place. They just pretended to because it's politically convenient. And when it's not convenient, what cages? What children? I don't know anything about this. So I think this past two election cycles have just really revealed a lot of very ugly things about America's political climate. It just really has. And I just hope that, no matter how anybody wants to vote, I don't tell anybody what to do, but whoever they vote for, I just hope they remember this and keep this in mind. Because what was so burning and important a second ago is, imaginary now. And that's really sociopathic, honestly, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Only a crazy person thinks that way. It's very manipulative. It's very manipulative. And in the meanwhile, we've had almost zero world news for like the last 8 years. So when it comes to our foreign policy, your average American probably doesn't really know what's going on in Iraq or Syria or Libya or Yemen or anything like that. So it's really hard for them to form an opinion of their own. All they know is what their favorite candidate says about it or what their favorite news station says about it, and they don't probably even know where to look, even if they wanted to go read a little further or look at some other source that isn't biased with American politics. They wouldn't know where to start, maybe, your average American, which is not to say we don't have people, who are savvy with these things and they have foreign sources they might trust and things like that. But, or people that they can talk to in those countries. Like I have you, you're my
Mm-hmm.
friend in Iran, so I can ask you. I have family in Iran, but I don't like to ask them about anything like this because usually they're contacting us by like Telegram. I don't know how safe that is. So we just stay away from these topics. But, you know, it's just, I think it's so important to hear things directly from the
Okay,
horse's mouth.
I
And
want to
you're the
ask you a
horse.
question. How many you are in the Twitter or social media or something like that? How many people,
Yeah,
American people, falls for this type of things? Yeah.
a lot. And because it's both sides that are doing this, the Republicans are saying one thing, the Democrats are saying another thing completely
If
opposite
you
world,
can
And
you
then
tell me a percentage or something like a percentage? Can you say that? How many tweets? How many percentage? Se-
I would say almost 100% of
Oh
people
my
on
God.
Twitter have fallen for some form of propaganda or the other. They still keep repeating that
Okay.
1953 coup narrative about Mossadegh. And they don't know what really happened. They just know what they were told. And here's the problem with our media. It's all biased. Some are biased toward the conservative viewpoint, like Fox News and OANN and that. Others are more biased toward the liberal. They're both mouthpieces for the parties, right? Fox is the mouthpiece for the Republican Party, and basically all the rest of them are mouthpieces for the Democratic parties. And that's effectively true. So each one is going to spin things in the way that benefits them the best, right? Politically, it's all politics. The news is no longer really there to give us information. It's to tell us what to think, what they want us to think. Oh, you should vote for so and so. They did such a good job with Syria, or yeah, bombing Syria is bad, but he had to, guys, because of this. So don't be mad. It's all narrative. And to be fair to the American people, if every news source they're looking at is biased in one way or the other way, even if they watch both of them and try to find what's really true in the middle somewhere, that's going to still be really hard to do because it's like opposite stories, right? And then maybe they say, okay, I'm going to Google, look up some foreign sites and see maybe what BBC wants to say, and they're no better than we are in terms of bias. Or, oh, maybe I'll go look at Al Jazeera. Well, Al Jazeera is not exactly impartial. So even the foreign sources, they don't know which ones to trust. They don't know who's telling the truth. Maybe they get lucky and they find an independent journalist on Twitter. But do you see how much work they would have to take to even find like one independent journalist or somebody impartial, or maybe somebody who actually lives in Syria or Lebanon or Iran or Iraq or wherever to ask some direct questions? It would be very hard. And most people, they're busy with work and their families and their friends, and they have their own problems and stuff. And so they're probably not going out of their way too much, the average person, to get information about these things. And I'm sure that your government doesn't exactly like to show America in the way that we really are. They probably have their own narrative about America and about the UK and about NATO countries and stuff like that, because they want you to form the opinion they want you to form. It's the same around the world. I don't think any media on earth is truly neutral. But it's really difficult to cut through all of that and to find out what is true and what isn't true. You know, it's all crazy. When we went into the Iraq War, remember they said, dude, trust us. They totally have weapons of mass destruction. And obviously it turned out they did not. And now they claim that they didn't know, but the superpower with all the intelligence, with all the CIA, with the whole Pentagon, did they really not know, or did they just lie to our faces to justify a war? Because that's what seems more likely, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And, first it was Assad is totally gassing his people. Well, number one,
Mm-hmm.
never in my lifetime have we fought a war because of human rights abuses. We don't seem to care about human rights abuses anywhere enough that we would actually take some action like war. So that was already suspicious. And then it was the guy that was really mad that Trump fired him. So take it with a grain of salt. The guy with the walrus mustache, what was his name?
Um,
John
John Bolton.
Bolton.
Yeah,
Bolton. Mike Bolton, whatever. Mr. Bolton comes out later, and I think Bannon might have said the same thing. Oh, no, you know what? You know who it was? It was Mad Dog Mattis. It was Mattis who said, oh, now we don't really have any proof that Assad was using sarin gas on his people. Which doesn't mean that he wasn't using any kind of gas, but particularly sarin gas, maybe. That could be the interpretation. But do you just see how fast the script will flip? When somebody's no longer in that government position and they're able to speak a little more freely and maybe they're feeling a little vindictive, and now all of a sudden you start hearing a whole different story. And we just marked 10 years of war with Syria the other day. Assad is still in power. Syria is destroyed. Millions of people have been displaced. ISIS was thriving because of all of this. And what have we achieved?
Exactly.
War is an industry now. We used to fight entire world wars. Within 2 to 4 years, those wars would be over. And now they're stretching on for decades and decades because there's no money in a quick and clean fight that ends with a victory. And I don't know how many failed regime changes it would take anyway to realize you didn't win much. I mean, certainly the people of that country don't win very often when that happens. We succeeded in taking out Saddam, and then what? And Libya is an outdoor slave market basically now after what we did to it, with all kinds of awful violence and disaster going on. And, you know, if you were to ask Hillary Clinton tomorrow, do you have any regrets about that? I'm not sure what she would say. But back then she laughed and she said, we came, we saw, he died, referring to Gaddafi.
Mm-hmm.
Just very flippant and not even hiding the fact that we clearly don't have any regard for the people living in these countries or what this is going to do to them. So this narrative that, oh, my politician is better and more moral and he's more loving than yours. I just want to slap these people into reality and say, listen, they're all the same. They're really all the same.
Yeah, exactly.
So instead of fighting over which team, maybe you need to grow up and understand that they're the same team. They're just
Oh
making
my
you
God,
different promises.
exactly. They are okay. It doesn't. For example, if the right now you have Biden, but he gonna do the bomb in Syria. You guys have a steel cage, right, for the kids or immigration or something like that.
We've had just in the past week, it's exploded to the point that we had, the last time I checked, we had 15 or 16,000 that were just children in our custody at the
And
border. Just children.
and I remember there was so many accusation for the Trump doing this, Trump doing that, bombing Syria or something like that. And,
Yeah.
and after 1 month or something, he couldn't do it. He still bombing Syria again. I mean, Joe Biden.
Yeah.
After one.
Well, so the truth here is that Trump is not innocent and Biden's not innocent. They've all been doing the same exact things year after year. Obama was sued by an organization here called the ACLU
Okay.
for abuse of minors in custody. The kids were being abused and neglected. They were being separated from their parents, and all of the same exact things that people were upset over during the Trump administration were true long before any of that. The cold, hard reality is that our policies don't change much one admin to the next. And that's because these laws, these policies are for Congress to legislate. That is their job. A president doesn't have much power there at all. And Congress, for all of these decades, hasn't taken a moment to reform our immigration policy or change the rules. And that's because they're not interested in anything changing. It's politically profitable to fight about it back and forth. It gains you votes when you can convince the voters, no, I'm going to get into office and I'm going to change this. And I'm the one who cares about these poor children, or, I'm the one who cares the most that we don't have so many new wars, or, we're going to be less racist, or whatever the issue is. So you elect them, and then absolutely nothing changes. And then you just keep doing it over and over again because apparently we have very short memories. Because if you ask somebody, what did they actually achieve? Which promises did they keep? Then they start backtracking. Oh, well, the president doesn't really have power over that. It's the Congress. Okay. The person you voted for Congress, were they able to help make any progress in Congress? No, and that's because Congress exists just to obstruct each other. You have two parties in Congress, and they're just going to block each other from getting anything done because they don't want the other side, to score a political win. They would rather have nothing happen for the country, for things just to be at a standstill, than to let the other party take credit for a massive infrastructure bill that finally went through, or a better healthcare idea that finally went through. Or the fact of the matter is that Congress are our lawmakers. They're the ones with the power to change the law, but it's easier and lazier to just blame the president every time for every problem, even though our president has very limited power. Our system is set up on purpose that way so that we don't end up with a dictator. They're not supposed to use executive orders for everything because Congress is supposed to be the one making and changing those laws, but they never do. And people don't wake up to the fact that they never will. You know, one of our youngest Congress women, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she took all of those photos of herself outside of the immigration facility pretending to cry, and she spoke about it nonstop for months, and she wanted to abolish our immigration authority, ICE. She wanted to disband them, defund them. She wouldn't stop talking about it for 5 minutes. She took a tour of the immigration facilities. She accused them of a bunch of abuses and things like that. And now, when the number of children alone in custody is probably 300% higher than it was, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's much, much higher than it was back when she was upset about that. But because it's her party in power now, I haven't seen one tweet from her about it, let alone some crying videos or some trips to go visit the children to show what's happening to them. Not one mention. All of a sudden, who cares?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. You mean
And even for people who support her and who like her, and election season's over, her seat is safe. She was recently reelected, but they still won't sit there and criticize her. Because in America, it's all about defending your side, defending your team. And that's what we put our energy into instead of holding those politicians accountable and saying, hey, you can't just drop this issue.
Right.
Or, hey, you promised to
You
do
mean
this.
AOC,
and then you
Alexis Cortez, AOC, right? The
Yeah, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
I don't like
Is
her.
her full name.
And
Yeah,
I don't like her. Even Nancy Pelosi.
I don't know how many of her supporters are willing to start admitting it, but she really has proven to be quite the little faker, not only with this immigration thing. When we were trying to confirm that Supreme Court justice who had some allegations against him for sexual assaults and things like that, she made this big fuss, believe all women, trust women, believe victims. And now when Biden was accused of something, she didn't care. When the governor of her state, Andrew Cuomo of New York, has 7 or 8 women, including a woman who currently works for him, accusing him of things, not a word really. Actually, that's not fair to her. She did mention it a couple of times, and I think she even called for his resignation, but she didn't hashtag the hell out of it. She wasn't angry as hell. She wasn't screaming from the rooftops the way she was. It looks more like she kind of was forced to take this view and say, yeah, this is serious. He should probably step down. Like, it doesn't seem very sincere. All of a sudden, she's not outraged. It's just kind of like, well, I have to, I'm saying this because I have to, not because I want to, kind of a thing,
Yeah.
But she did at least say something about it. I have to give her credit there. She did, she did at least try to be a little consistent, but others in Congress didn't. It's just, it was only her and I think 1 or 2 others in Congress on the Democratic side who called for his resignation. The others are kind of missing in action somewhere. There's just some crickets and, nobody has much to say. So that's how dirty and ugly politics are. But what's so funny to me is they do this in front of our face and we still don't learn. We still don't, instead of yelling at each other, we still can't point our finger at them and say, whoa, hold on, you guys are the problem here, not us. And this person who voted differently from me is not my enemy. It's you assholes in your suits at Congress. You're the ones who are, letting us down and not doing your jobs. You're the ones we should be mad at. But people don't do that. They'll either blame each other or the president, or they'll do both of those things, but they won't look at our actual lawmakers and say, hold on. I'm onto your bullshit. I know what you're doing over there.
Yeah, exactly. We don't like Nancy Pelosi. I can't say majority of the people here, They don't. They hate Democrats because what they
They hate
Democrats
because
because
they know that the Democrats are the ones that installed your current regime under Carter and working with France. It wasn't just the US. France had something to do with it too. We
uh,
know that. That's why France also harbors that lady, that Marianne. I won't say her whole name, I guess, um, because she is their plan B. Basically, if anything happens to this regime, they're going to try to put Mariam in there, even though they know she has no support in Iran. Nobody likes her. Nobody wants her.
this won't happen. I'm
Yeah,
telling you, no way.
well, I hope not. But I'm telling you how they're thinking about it. They're saying if anything happens, we'll just put her in there. That's what they think is going to happen. So
It's-
Jimmy
okay.
Carter, Democratic president, is hugely responsible for the current regime in Iran today, for changing the regime, ousting the Shah, which, obviously France played a big role too. I'm not trying to blame just us, but because the Democratic Party supported that regime change. Ever since then, of course, they're not going to be hard on Iran, because it would mean that they have to admit they made a huge, I'm not even going to call it a mistake, because they did it on purpose. The Shah was becoming too powerful. He was too much of a rival. Iran was having too much influence. The Shah was threatening to privatize Iran's oil. He was heading OPEC. He was getting way too big for his pants, and it was starting to hurt too many bottom
Mm-hmm.
lines around the world. And so, how do I paralyze this country and get him out of my way without fighting a war? Because back then, war wasn't such a profitable industry as it is now. So we said, oh, we'll just change the regime. And that is exactly what we did. And because the Democratic Party was, the one on shift when they changed that regime, they've always protected that.
Exactly.
They've always protected that, you know, because they eliminated a rival by giving Iran a government that's not very functional and that is malignant enough that we can point to them and say, you see, they're evil, they're dangerous. That's our excuse to cut them off, to sanction them, to isolate them, to just basically delete them from the map when it comes to, trade and business and everything. Now they're no longer in our way.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
But there's no thought, obviously, given to the Iranian people. How are they supposed to live under this? Nobody asked that question because nobody cared. And that's why even when we fought Hitler, it wasn't because of what he was doing to people. It wasn't because of the people he was murdering. It wasn't because of human rights. It was because he started to invade our allies. He was, you know, there was the Blitz, and is that was World War II? Was the
Mm-hmm.
Blitz, right? I can't keep track anymore. Maybe I'm wrong. I think that might have been World War One. But point is, he was invading Poland. He was doing this. He was getting out of control to the point that it started to threaten our interests,
Yeah.
us and the other allies' interests. And that's the only reason. If he would have stayed in Germany, they wouldn't have cared how many people he murdered or how horribly he murdered people. They wouldn't have cared, because that's never been the reason we go to war anywhere for anything. It just never is. And that's the sad truth. We want to pretend we're like Captain America, the good guy, oh, we're here to help you. No, 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 no. We're there to protect our interests or to gain something. We gained a lot in Iraq, even though the war itself didn't go that well. Look at the strategic location we just nailed, right? Now our troops are there. We have airspace. We have military bases. We have, more control over that region, more ways to get intel in other countries, more ways to get oil through, more ways to do a lot of different things because we invaded and now we have a presence there. It's not so different from Syria. You think we cared if Assad was gassing people or not? We didn't care. We said, what's in this for us? And also to counter Russia, because Russia's on Assad's side and we're anti-Russia. So there was some of that involved. But also, hey, strategically, this would be great if we were here.
Yeah.
And strategically, it's great to have, guys in Afghanistan, obviously, because nobody can make sense of why the hell are we still in Afghanistan. The reason they told us we were starting that fight was because that was supposedly where Osama bin Laden was hiding. But long after we knew that wasn't true anymore, we didn't just pull our troops and leave, because obviously there's resources, there's logistical reasons, strategic reasons that it pays to keep staying there, which is why it's not going to end anytime soon. So when everybody is like, oh, yeah, well, maybe in a second term, Trump was going to start war with Iran, and I believe he was. Israel wanted it badly. And I think Trump wanted it, but because he ran on promising no new wars, he definitely wasn't going to do that in his first term. If he would have won a second term and had less to lose politically, he just would have come up with a good enough reason to convince his supporters why it was just unavoidable. We really didn't want to, guys, but here's what happened. I think in his second term, he would have. And now Biden looks more interested in threatening China and Russia at the
Yeah.
moment, and possibly North Korea. So I think there will be war under Biden, but I don't think it's going to be with Iran.
Maybe Israel started.
Israel has threatened to. Israel has threatened to in a way. They've said,
You're gonna do it.
well, they've said a few important things. They've said number one, that even if the JCPOA deal was expanded, because at the moment it's got an expiration date coming up, it doesn't include rockets and missiles, and so there were a number of things they weren't happy about with the original agreement. But they said even if those things were changed and added to it, and it was extended for a long time, they still don't think that that's sufficient enough. And then they've also kind of been a little bit reactive by saying, well, if he returns to the deal, sort of period, if he returns to any kind of a deal, Israel may just act without waiting around for the United States. And so presumably what they mean is that they might start a war with Iran without us, without our involvement.
In my opinion, the next deal will include Israel. But Iran don't want it, so there won't be any deal. Trust me, if the next deal happen, Israel will be included. Israel and Saudi will be included in that deal or something. But
well, we have said that we will consult with Israel and we'll make sure, that's what we've said out loud. What's true and quiet.
Yeah. Even in
but I'm not sure Israel would really try to go to war with Iran all by them, not by themselves, because they do have Arab allies who also want war with Iran. They do have that. So they wouldn't be alone per se, but that could potentially spin into a world conflict, especially right now with relations so bad between China and the US. And Russia is allies with China and Iran. So you can see where there's this potential for a lot of escalation that could be pretty horrifying. And obviously, Israel's not a stupid country. They know this too. So hopefully a lot of it is just bluffing and rhetoric. But honestly, if Israel truly wants to start a war with Iran, they're going to. Either way, no matter what. They will if that's what they really want to do. And if they do, I just hope they try to keep us out of it, because we're already all over the place, and this might be really more than any of us could really handle. Because can you imagine if things kick off with Russia, with China, with possibly Pakistan, with all these allies who all have nukes, by the way. The question of whether Iran has nukes or not, to me, is a pretty irrelevant question, because all of their allies do. So if anything truly serious were to kick off, you're still dealing with nations that have nukes, because their allies would probably defend, right? So it's all just a messy dilemma, and I don't know. I hope Israel can find some way.
Iran is, if I want to say that correctly, Iran government right now is like a psychopath. Okay, you threat that guy for so long. Yeah, don't do anything. I know you are a psychopath. Don't do anything. And deep down, if you want to hurt them, you have to kill him. If you can't kill him, he gonna do anything in his power to make you suffer. Who knows if Iran government knows, yeah, this is it. They attacking me, and this is the end. So I'm gonna hit every city in the I don't know, UAE, Emirates or Saudi or at least I'm gonna try it. Launch so many missiles or something.
I'll go down fighting.
If I'm going to go down, I'm taking everybody with me, something like that. I don't know.
Well, you know, and I know that those 30 mysterious
Oh my God,
explosions of
so
Iran's
many.
nuclear sites, you know, Israel did
Yes,
that. Everybody knows. Israel's not ready to say so, and Iran won't even acknowledge it. So both sides are interested in keeping that quiet. But we know that that's what's been happening. So there is a possibility that Israel will just kind of continue doing things like that, striking a vital site here or there, you know, but not like going into a ground war or to start even an official war. They might just keep hitting them where they can and when they can, and assassinating some of the scientists, or, you know, whatever they feel that they can do to kind of contain Iran. That might be what we see really continuing to happen. And it's so funny because that's another thing the news doesn't usually have any problem with assuming things or coming up with, well, maybe this is true. But when it comes to this, there's been a lot of silence.
no, exactly.
You know, a couple of outlets did run articles saying, yep, we think these mysterious explosions were Israel, you know, but Israel's not commenting, Iran's not commenting, so there's not much of a
It-
story there if neither
it's
one of
funny.
them are
It's
willing
funny.
to say.
One time, it was 9 p.m. or no, no, not 9. I think it was 11. Yeah, 11 midnight, 11 p.m. Between 11 and 12 p.m. Midnight. Yeah, 11 p.m. or midnight, something like that. And it was dark. Everything was dark, and there was an explosion, and I saw it in the Twitter. Yeah, I saw it on Twitter. For couple seconds, it was bright daylight. That's how much explosion. I don't know how much, but it was so massive that for
Oh my God.
couple seconds, it was bright late daylight, bright daylight. And guess what? The Iran government said, yeah, this is to gas or something. They showed two tiny gas capsule or something. It just blew up, and yeah, that's cause of the explosion. I mean, every window for about 20 miles or something just smash or shaking so hard because of the explosion. And they say these two gas make that happen. It was day. In the night, it was completely day, bright, so bright like a day for a couple seconds. And you telling me that two tiny gas make that happen?
Yeah, no, of course not. And yeah, they'll use any excuse. Oh, it was an accident. Oh,
Oh
it was a
my God!
gas
Yeah,
explosion. Oh,
there was,
and then when somebody goes and asks
and
Israel, they just kind of, you
another
know,
time there was an alarm. There was a big alarm in the city, uh, and they say, yeah, we were testing. Okay, that maybe you should test it in your uh, military base or something like that, not in the. But it was so loud, so many people could hear it in the city. And guess what? Another thing happened. Another one. After a couple of
was it like an air raid
yeah, is it
siren?
like a war alarm or something? Ring, ring,
Yeah.
something like that.
Oh my
Yeah,
God. So these poor people were
yeah, everyone.
terrified.
And the second one happened about 1 month ago or something like that. And they keep saying, yeah, it was testing. Yeah. and and guess what? You can't even say it in the Google map or not something like from the satellite something. There are some areas there are so many explosion in those areas. One of them, no, I'm not gonna say that. And it's like a black space or something. For example, a couple days back, that space, that location or something, a specific location near the capital was okay. But right now is the big giant black thing on it. So of course someone, I mean Israel, hit that place with the missile or something, or even it's from
Yeah.
inside. Who knows? Maybe it's not their own or something.
The list of possibilities is very short because not everybody has the
Yeah,
capability or
exactly,
the access
exactly.
to pull that
Nobody,
off. So it's not really a
yeah,
mystery.
nobody hear any airplane or something like that. It's possible inside job,
Well, I
or
mean, wasn't it in broad daylight when that scientist was assassinated.
Scientist? Oh yeah, exactly. That was yeah. That was. They say it was 8 months work or something. 20 agents worked on that. I saw some article. Of course, it was. It wasn't. Yeah, somebody. Some people trying to say, yeah, the IRGC, the Iran government, assassin him. Yeah, killing that guy because he was the rat or something like that. But no, come on. No, no,
No,
he wasn't. He wasn't.
he was one of their top scientists. They would have no reason to kill him.
Trust me, he was a scientist. First of all, he was a scientist, but he has some. There was a voice, and they keep him so secret. And trust me, before that assassination, I didn't know his name. I didn't know that, but they keep it so
Mm,
secret. And this is, of course, this
yeah,
is not the real name. Of course, nobody knows that. At least
yeah.
public. Yeah,
So somebody with very, very sophisticated intelligence capabilities and or some spies on the
yeah,
inside
yeah.
take off and yeah.
And to be honest, it was the automatic gun, just behind the truck or something. And when they killed that guy, that not scientist, I mean, how can I say that? I don't. It was the highest rank in the what you call it, nuclear site, nuclear territory. I mean, it was the highest rank. I'm telling you, after Khamenei is Qasem Soleimani, who's dead, and in the nuclear area, it was this guy, and pretty much Khamenei is so alone. I mean, the Qasem Soleimani was the second person. There's a article, there's an interview when some Hezbollah or something like that in the Lebanon got hit, some houses or something, and they got broke, so they needed money to fix that their house. So they came to the Iran and asking Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, the president back then, it was a president. When that happened, they asked him, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, yeah, we need money, please give us some money, dollars or something, because we want to rebuild our houses or something like that. And he said, I don't have money. The president said, I don't have any money. Go ask Qasem Soleimani. Go ask him. And Qasem Soleimani, with one phone call, Qasem Soleimani managed to get him about $29 million in 1 hours.
Oh my
In
god.
1 hour. Qasem Soleimani was so much powerful in this country. He could do it. There's a video. I'm gonna send it sometimes for you. Tomorrow I'm gonna send it to you. And so Khamenei was talking to him, and he was like I don't know how can I describe that. He was looking at the floor, and he didn't even eye contact with the Khamenei. He was worshipping Khamenei, Qasem Soleimani. I mean, he was worshipping like a god or something. If he said that, I didn't say that. He said that if uh, my leader, my supreme leader or something like that, if he cried, even with one tiny, how can I say that, one tiny cry or something like that, I'm gonna smash the whole US because of that cry. If my supreme leader cried, I'm gonna destroy all the US. I mean, how can you say that? Killing all these, even with the word, and of course you can do shit, but even with your words, you're gonna destroy even the small something. You're gonna do kill people because your supreme leader say that. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. The only person who done that, psychopath or something like that. So, in my and look at the Syria. One of the reasons Syria is like this right now is because of the Qasem Soleimani. Because Khamenei said, "Yeah, do anything in your power to make Assad in the power. We don't want to lose him." And right now, he killed so many people. He started a civil war. exactly like civil war or something. He used ISIS. The Qasem Soleimani was number one terrorist in the world. Trust me, he was number one. When Trump, I don't care about Trump or Biden or something like that. I'm gonna say it as an Iranian person. Qasem Soleimani was number one terrorist in this region. He said he kills so many young people, so many from the inside of the Iran or outside in the Syria or Iraq. He caused so many damage. He killed so many U.S. soldiers. So many U.S. soldiers got injured or killed because of the Qasem Soleimani. Because he tried to keep you guys out of the Iraq, so he do anything like a car bomb or something like that. He thank God he's dead, but yeah, the
Yeah, we lost soldiers to
and
IEDs.
I know Trump said that so many times, but I don't care about him. Honestly, I don't care about what he's saying. I know what I saw. I know what I um, I know what I know about these type of people in Iran because I'm from Iran, so no one is saying
Yeah.
that better than me. Trust me, when I say he was the number one terrorist, he, I tell you what, Qasem Soleimani was the exactly ISIS, but he managed to success his, I don't know, purpose or something. He's a successful terrorist. He was a successful terrorist. That's ISIS was the unsuccessful terrorist, or we can say about the we can say about the Al Qaeda. What you call it? Al Qaeda, Al Qaeda, something like that. But
Al
Al
Qaeda.
Qaeda. But the Qasem Soleimani was a successful, and people even worship him. I'm telling you, in the Syria because of the money, in the Lebanon, even this guy Hassan Nasrallah, the piece of shit person, that guy. People in the
Nasrallah, the head of
yeah,
Hezbollah.
exactly. People will worship him because of the money and power or something. He just used it. He was number one terrorist. When Trump said that, don't think about the Republican or Democrat or something like that. Think as a human. When Trump said that, he was right. I had so many disagree with the Trump action or talk or something like that, but in this situation, he was right. He was absolutely right about the loss of so many. He was number one terrorist. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course, he has all the DOD and the Pentagon and
Yeah,
all these
yeah.
advisors, all these advisors. But even our advisors are
But
biased one way or the
that was a
other
bold
because
move. I mean, that was very
yes,
that was that
risky. I
was
would
so
say I would use
that
the
was
word risky. Yeah.
so much risky because he was number. I'm telling you, Ahmadinejad, the president, couldn't give them money, but Qasem Soleimani could. I mean, how this is possible? Because this is
I mean, my cousin. I told you before, but anybody listening doesn't know. My cousin, who's in Iran, was talking on video chat with my mom, and she wouldn't even get out of her bed. She was crying and crying because she was so
because of the
terrified
war. Mm.
that the killing of that general was going to mean war with Iran. She was terrified that any moment American planes were going to come and start bombing Iran. And oh, she was just sobbing. She was so scared. And oh, yeah. I mean, it was a very big deal, obviously. She didn't care to have any political opinion. She was just terrified that bombs were going to be falling now. And that's all she could think of
Hmm.
course. She's just a civilian, and she lives in a big city, and so she was just scared to death, like, oh my god, this is the end. And yeah, it was, thankfully that's not what happened, but that's what she was very afraid of.
Mm. Sadly, sadly,
Really sad. I didn't like to see her
yeah.
so hysterical, but yeah, how could she not be afraid when you have no control because it's whatever your government and the other government decides to do, and you're just this poor person who has no power at all. I mean, this is terrifying. Aside from 9/11, Americans don't really know what it feels like to be attacked
Mhm.
on our own
Yeah.
soil. I mean, that's not something that's happened to us very often in our history, at least not our modern history. I don't think we can properly sympathize or appreciate what it means when your own town is being hit with airstrikes and bombs and missiles. And we can't really conceive of that. We can watch movies about it and stuff, but we don't really know how that feels.
Yeah.
And people who do know how that feels are, a lot more terrified. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's just terrible. It's just
It's a
terrible. Nobody likes this regime, but, talking about war, that's a very serious thing to talk about, especially now these days where war just means we stretch it as long as we can to make as much money as we can, to get as many resources as we can. It's not in our interest to end it fast. And so it's going to drag on for decades. We're going to lose God knows how many of our own soldiers, and how many civilians are going to be killed and displaced. And look at Syria, the poor country, this ancient
yeah.
country with so much history,
Exactly.
that was such a beautiful country,
Exactly.
and it's just destroyed. It's leveled, flattened. And God, how do you justify that? I mean, the ends don't justify the means, because we didn't even succeed in doing what we said we wanted. I don't think we really want to get Assad out of power, because I think if that was the only goal, it would have been over really fast. I think that we wanted this to stretch out. We wanted to have access to that area. There were so many different interests and reasons that we'd want to be there for a long time. Because if you removed him on the first, few months of the war and he's out of power or he's dead or something, and then you kind of say, okay, maybe we'll stay another year or two to kind of like rebuild. That's what we said we were doing in Iraq, right? We're just going to rebuild. But here we are, because, oh, but there's insurgents. Oh, we can't just leave. No, this is happening and that's happening. So Biden is actually increasing our troop presence in Iraq right now, rather than reducing them. Even if you're not going to bring them all home, a lot of times they'll at least try to reduce how many are there, just to sort of, make it look like, hey, I'm trying to bring our people home. No, he's increasing them. So that's not a comforting sign to anybody, because that's like, okay, things are getting more tense. They're not being de-escalated. Things aren't, there's no progress. It's gone from kind of a relative calm to lately a lot's happening and the tensions are going sky high. And so, but right now, the people that are addicted to political parties and all of this, they're still high on the win, you know? So they're not going to be worrying about that or caring about that right now. All they care about is that he's supposedly going to start keeping all the promises he made here in America for people. But so far, not a lot of that is being delivered either. So I don't know. Maybe the honeymoon will be over soon, but it's not very American to admit, you know what, our guy kind of sucks. Sorry, he's not so much better than the other one, where most of these issues are concerned. We like him better as a person, but he's not doing a very good job. They won't have the spine to say that, because they feel like it's too embarrassing to say that. It means the other party somehow is winning, or they don't understand that they can criticize their own candidate without it meaning that they suddenly like the other party, or that, or that they wouldn't vote for that party again or something. They're so threatened to even start to admit that maybe their guy made a mistake or didn't do something right. So it's just going to be another 2 to 4 years of that nonsense, and then who knows what'll happen. It doesn't even matter to me anymore who wins. I don't. I think that they're all just the same, so I don't care really. It's not going to affect anything that I care about very much. If Democrats win or if Republicans win, the issues that I care about the most are not really going to change at all. So that's a sad reality that, and I'm not even sure that a third party would count, would change anything, because it doesn't take long for a party to just having to face the reality that their policies are going to have to be ultimately whatever America's policies are. It's going to be dictated by the Pentagon. It's going to be dictated by, people other than a congressperson or a president or whoever. And so the idea of a third party is, so we can, make something totally new, and they won't be tied to these policies like these two parties. They're going to be totally different. No, I don't think so. I think we'd still see all the same things going on. It just, when something is the nation's policy, I don't think political parties themselves are able to do anything really to change it. Not in a big way. I mean, Obama's biggest change was the ACA, the healthcare measure that he took to reform the healthcare. But that's one of those issues that the defense doesn't care about. That's not a big, not really a big deal to them. So that was his landmark move. He didn't succeed in closing Gitmo. He didn't succeed in ending any of these wars. In fact, he started a new war in Syria during his term. So, yeah, they promise all this stuff on their way in the door, but once they get into that seat, it's business as usual every time.
Yeah,
And I guess we shouldn't be.
yeah,
I guess we shouldn't be surprised because our country has interests and it has, allies and their interests, and not to mention all these industries like our defense industries, and all these big dollar donors to every single candidate we have, whether it's pharmaceutical or defense or whatever it is. It's money is always doing this the walking. Their mouth says one thing, but their pocketbooks, their bribes and stuff that they get, it's a whole different situation. So I don't know. It doesn't look too hopeful.
yeah. It's not, but I don't know. Sometimes I think US don't want to involve in something like a big something, like a war or something. They just want to,
I mean,
yeah,
we're currently
they just want to
let's
send them medicine and that's it. Send, no, for example,
let's count how many we're in right now. Let's see: Libya, Syria, Iraq,
no,
Afghanistan.
I'm not talking about. In my opinion, West, UK, US, anyone, uh, they can change this regime so fast and put the Reza Pahlavi
Mhm.
on the charge. Because I don't know if you heard it, but Reza Pahlavi even recently, said that so many times. We need a Democrat, not Democrat. I mean democracy in the country, not the son and father situation, like a leadership or something like that, like his father or even the Khamenei.
A secular
Yeah, yeah,
democracy. Yeah,
yeah. So he's the best choice for our leadership, at least for the start, until we.
he's the best choice for you, but Maryam is the best choice for us because we can control her,
No, even
and because she would be just as bad as the
okay.
mullahs. We could keep
Okay,
Iran
let's
isolated.
pretend this piece of shit person, Mayam Rajabi, is on charge. Okay, let's say what would
Hmm.
happen. Okay, hijab is still still will be happening. Hijab, Islam is still happening. We should have a law based on Islam. Sounds so.
But you see why that's better for the United States because those are all the same excuses to keep Iran isolated. If we put in the Shah, then we would be doing business with Iran. Iran would have to be free to join the rest of the world because that's a secular democratic leadership, a friendly country that we can work with. She would be the status quo. She would be the mullahs, but in a dress.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Even
And so
worse.
that's
Even
why,
worse.
as far as Europe is concerned, as far as the
I'm
U.S. is
telling you,
concerned, she's the better option.
the moment Mariam Rajabi will be in charge, there will be massive protests. There will be so much death, right? And
I know,
and
I know,
this
but
time,
you,
this is not on the government. It's on people who put this piece of shit person in charge. I'm telling.
yeah, but you see, that's something we wouldn't care about. All we would care is we can keep sanctioning them, we can keep isolating them, we can keep them from interfering in the oil trade. That's what we care. Because the same reasons that we deposed his father, Reza Pahlavi poses the same threat to us. He's going to be too powerful, he's too secular, he's too friendly. There's no excuse not to work with him. There's no excuse to isolate or sanction or punish Iran anymore. We'd have to include them in the world now. And ultimately, that's not what we want because he's too much of a competitor. He's too much of a rival. We need some useless piece of shit government for Iran so that we can keep them out of the picture, basically, kind of out of the way, right? It's like we're putting them in the very back of the movie theater and just saying, okay, putting them on timeout, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we ignore it so much. When they provoke us and stuff, we tend to try to ignore it because ultimately we don't want to remove the regime. We just want to isolate them enough. Kind of like Kim Jong Un, keep him isolated enough where he can't cause too much trouble. And that's good enough. Why would we waste any time or bother trying to remove him or, easier just to ignore him most of the time. And as long as he can't do too much damage, leave him alone, basically. And so, yeah, because right now we're still involved in at least 4 active wars. None of them are ending anytime soon.
No,
No
no,
big
I'm not talking
accomplishment.
about the war. I mean, there's
Well, so what I'm saying is it doesn't make sense, though, now, especially to try to change Iran's regime or to have a war with Iran.
no
They
changing the
could just
regime will
blow
be.
up in our
There
face.
are so many good way to change the regime. I mean, so many peaceful.
Oh, but we would have to want to, though, and that's my
Yeah,
point. We
yeah.
don't
You
want.
don't.
If we wanted to, we would have done it in the last
Yeah,
40
exactly.
years, 41 years, 40.
You don't want to.
We didn't want to. Obviously, this arrangement was better for our interests, and that's what's sad. Now, all you can hope then is if Israel and the Arab world want to remove this regime badly enough, maybe they'll be the ones to figure out something. I don't know. I don't know. But as far as the US and most of the West is concerned, the status quo, the way things are, is what works best for us.
Yeah, exactly.
In a way, it kind of works for Israel too, because as long as Iran's government is so isolated, they can't really interfere or compete with Israel in terms of trade or in terms of, the Arabs don't like Iran either. So Israel and the Arabs are bonding right now because they both can't stand Iran, and Iran is, you know, threatening both of them and their interests, and so that's what's uniting them right now. Um, but yeah, if the Arabs ever were to change their mind and start backing Iran, that would be bad for Israel, definitely. But as long as, they hate Iran's regime, but I don't know. I think that they would want to change it, but I'm just wondering what the new one would look like. Because it's still not in Israel's interest or the Arabs' interest to have anybody too powerful in
Mm,
Iran. Just somebody that's less dangerous to them. That's what they really want. But they don't want an Iran that's too strong and powerful in the region because ultimately then that's a rival to them.
exactly.
So they they would have a hard time probably trying to figure out what the right balance would be. Somebody that, wouldn't be supporting all these proxies and, terrorism and all of this stuff that's going on, but also wouldn't get too strong, wouldn't get too big for their pants, wouldn't start threatening them, in any way, like not even economically being a threat to either one of them. It's tricky. It's really tricky. There's no easy solution
Yep.
for any of these countries. Because they'll have a lot of interest to consider before they do anything too drastic.
Yeah. Funny story. It's 8 a.m. here, and
Oh my god.
I'm so sleepy for past.
Yeah, I was gonna just let you go pretty soon because we've almost dragged on for 2 hours.
Yeah.
No one wants to listen too
I'm
much.
sorry to
So,
say that, but yeah, my English is awful, and every minute.
how about one more small, easy question, and
Okay.
then we'll say goodnight for
Okay.
now. So, let's just say I have a magic wand, and tomorrow Iran's a perfect place with a wonderful government, and you have every freedom in the world. What's the first thing that you would do?
Everything you said freedom, right?
Yeah, you could do anything you
Anything.
wanted. What would you do? What's the first thing you'd want to
Okay,
do?
this is the first day of the freedom in Iran, right? They,
Yeah, you can wear anything, drink anything, do whatever you
okay,
want. What
then
would you do?
there. So if that day happen, will be dancing or something like that in the very popular street or places in the my city. I'm gonna go there.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna find a girl or something. I'm gonna make out in the public.
Perfect answer. Maybe drink some beer, celebrate, have some
After
music
the
and
kiss,
dancing.
yes. After me,
After
yeah.
after the kiss.
Pick someone random who is happy like me because everyone is happy. Right now we have freedom at least. Finally, we have a freedom, and we can do whatever.
Yeah, she'll be so happy she won't even slap
Yeah,
you.
yeah. She's happy, so who cares? After that, we're not gonna see each other, so who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
First thing first. Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Well, we hope that that day.
Nobody say anything. I remember I talked to the. I, I was talking to a girl in the park or something, and there was two guys from the policeman or something, and they just staring at us. We didn't do anything. We just talking. That's it. And one of them was so angry and just stares at us. What they doing? What they doing? What they doing? We just talking, man. We didn't do anything. That's how we have to. That's that's so sad. You can't even touch your. I don't know. Hold his hand. Hold her hand. Or his hand. You can't do anything.
It's dehumanizing.
You
They're
can't
not
even
even allowing
dance.
you
You
to
can't even
interact.
have a basic thing, you know. And you can have a kiss or something.
In spite of all the negativity and all the reasons to doubt it, there's no choice but to hold on to some hope that somehow, some way, the days are numbered for that, and things are going to have to give at some point. That's all we can do is hold on to that little bit of hope.
Yeah,
But I know most people, it's hard
I
to
said
have.
that before, and I'm gonna say that 1,000 times. We are in hell from inside. We are in hell from outside. We are doomed. Sadly.
Well, that's not very optimistic, but
Yeah,
that is the situation. That
the
is the
fact that
situation. We just have to hope that,
nobody care. To be honest, nobody care about us. Not from inside, but from it.
no one ever cares about the humans in any of
Mm.
this. That's the sad thing.
Thank you for the talk.
Oh, we just
Thank you for the talk.
thank you for joining me.
It
And,
was fantastic.
I keep forgetting that we're actually talking for other people to hear it, but I hope they've enjoyed it. I hope they've
Yeah,
found
I
this
know.
interesting. And coming up soon, I'll probably, not today, obviously, but I'll probably try to get some Armenians in here to talk with me about the recent war and all of that. Anyone following me on Twitter saw me tweeting about that nonstop. So, yeah, we'll try to get some interesting topics and discussions because this is way more interesting and a lot easier than trying to slam out a tweet that has any real meaning about anything. It's so hard to really convey anything with just some simple words on a screen. This is much
I
different.
try to be light in the darkness. I mean, the knowledge area or something like that. If you don't, if you don't know
Yes,
anything about Iran, that make it easier with this podcast. And I hope I'm honestly doing my best to keep you guys informed
I know you
the
are.
best way, you know.
I know.
And I,
And if any of you listening have any specific questions about Iran, things you're wondering about, I know that Maz would be more than happy to join us
yeah,
again. So just tweet them to me and we can do this again very soon. Actually, I might even have my mom do one with me just to tell her happy stories from Iran from before the revolution, the fun she had and kind of carefree life that she had then as a young woman. Because people on Twitter have been so interested to hear about that, and I keep promising to do that, but I haven't yet. So I think that that would be really fun too.
yeah, that's
All right. We're going to let you get some sleep. And yeah, we're almost at 2 hours. So I'm going to end this thing. And then I can't promise that I'm going to figure out how to edit
yeah,
it.
it's
So if
long.
this sucks, I'm
It's
not
2 hours.
sorry. You knew I wasn't very good at tech things if you knew me. So anyway, yeah, I'll probably just upload it the way it is because what do I know about editing? It wasn't bad for a first
Yeah,
try. All right, guys. See you next time. And thank you, Moz, again so much for being here with
thank you
us.
for having me.
Of course. You did me the favor. All right. Sweet
Bye.
dreams. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. Good night.